on. We are in the Big News Showdown panel. My name is Terry Latorco, and I am lucky enough to be joined by three of the awesome people I get to work with here at Renegade Game Studios. That is Scott Gata, President and Publisher, Renegade Game Studios, Dan Bojanowski, our Senior Producer, and Sarah Erickson, Director of Marketing and Sales. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, this is the Big News Shakedown panel. We're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff. Some news that we've announced in recent days, and we'll also be revealing a few things for things coming up on the horizon. If you are a Power Rangers fan, we have a little something for you. If you're interested in some of the new licenses that we have, thanks to our expanded partnership with Hasbro, My Little Pony, Transformers, G.I. Joe, we'll be talking a little bit about those. We'll also be talking about some games coming up in the very near future that you'll be hearing more about. So this is going to be a really exciting panel. I know Sarah and Scott, yesterday you had a little chat with Elisa Teague and Victoria Rogers about RPGs. So we're not going to be talking so much about RPGs today. We'll touch on it, of course, but I do encourage you after this panel and when things are wrapped up, go back and check out that video as well, because I know Elisa and Scott and Sarah did go into a little more detail on those. So let's start it off. Let's start off with introductions. You can talk a little more about yourself. We're gonna let's go with alphabetical order today. Dan, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit what you do here at Renegade?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Dan Bojanowski, Senior Producer here at Renegade, which means a lot of things. I wear a lot of different hats, but one of the main functions that I do is kind of to shepherd projects from kind of the idea to handing off the print files. So I work with the designers, the game developers, the artists, the illustrators, the graphic designers, a little bit. I get my fingers in everything, and I create a lot of documentation on the back end, review a lot of files. I do play some games and make sure that they're up to snuff, but a lot of it is kind of the just making sure that everything looks great, feels great, and is a whole ton of fun.
You also get to check out, you do the things like making sure the experience for the gamers are like right? You make sure the sleeve cards fit into boxes and those little details we take for granted.
That's one of the perks is I tend to get the pack out checks, the first looks at things from the factories in China or wherever we're manufacturing. So I tend to get things first and get to see them, make sure they work. And if they don't, I send them back. And if they do, I send them on to you marketing folks so you guys can share it with all of our great fans.
So if you're one of those fans who has like a really nice little detail about a game that you really like, you probably have Dan to thank for that. Sarah, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do here at Renegade?
So I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing, and essentially what that means is I make sure everybody gets the information they need and that they found all the really cool stuff that Dan and everyone else on the team has been working on. Because if they just make this super awesome stuff and then nobody ever finds out about it, then that's no good. So it's my job to look over the marketing team and make sure that they get everything they need so that they can go out and tell people about our new games, but then also build communities around them, which is a really important thing. So we want that people get a chance to find other people who really love the thing that they love too. So, for example, we just launched Vampire on Kickstarter, and that campaign is now over, but everybody is waiting for the game to come out in a couple months. And so we are giving them things to do, ways to get in touch with other Vampire fans, and just really connect with each other even before the game comes out. And we have done that with our Power Rangers fan group as well. So I'm sort of in charge of the team that handles those things. So that's a little bit of what I do for the marketing side. And then for sales, I also make sure that all of the games get to the right places so they can end up on retail store shelves and eventually into the hands of people who are going to play them. So it's a lot of fun, the exciting parts, because I get the games when they're finally done and they're full and everything's perfect, and then I just get the fun part of making sure they get to people. So that's what I do.
I'll
I
do
thought I
that.
did the fun
Marketing
part,
is
Sarah.
We all do the fun parts, honestly. We work for a
We all
game
like what we do.
company.
That's a
It's
great
all
thing,
fun.
right?
Honestly, Dan, I would have such a hard time doing what you do because it's all about making sure that everything is going to be right when it's actually made. And you have to like imagine what's going to happen before it even happens. I get to see the final thing and I'll know that it's awesome. But it's only awesome because you did the hard part.
Well, and I would not excel at your job either. So there we go. I don't like dealing with people, so I don't have to. I'm just kidding.
Oh, funny.
Nice.
Well, Scott, why don't you can tell us all the things you've done. You've had a busy
All
year
the
so far.
things.
It's not yet over. Yeah, go ahead.
That's true.
We got 90 minutes on this panel. Why
No,
don't you just rattle them off?
we'll do the abbreviated version. So the best thing that I get to do is I get to dabble in all the things that everybody else does. So I get to work with Dan and the game designers, all the way back from coming up with the ideas of what we're going to make and be part of that, and kind of help shepherd those things along and really get involved in marketing and organized play and sales and game design and graphic design and art. So get to kind of dabble in everything and ultimately try to pull it all together. So we as a company have a persistent vision and a plan, and what do we want to do and what is Renegade going to mean to the outside world. So that's kind of my role. And then of course, when we are going to branch out and explore new things or bring new things into the company, I'm kind of heading that up, making deals with companies like Hasbro and the EC, the Gaines Family Foundation that controls EC Comics and that sort of stuff. So making those decisions, and I get to say no a lot, right? Like we're inundated with opportunity, and there's all sorts of awesome stuff that we want to do, and everybody in the company brings things to the table that we would like to do, and ultimately we can't do it all, so somebody has to say no and pick and choose of what we're going to do and what Renegade's going to tackle in the near or far future. So that's my job. Whether or not I'm doing it okay or not, we'll see how the next year goes.
It's going to be an exciting year. That's for sure,
is.
right?
That's right.
We have, so if you haven't heard the news, first, I'd love for you to sign up to the Renegade newsletter, but one of the biggest pieces of news that come out in the last few weeks with Renegade is that we have expanded our partnership with Hasbro. We had the license and we've been publishing games for Power Rangers. And now that has expanded so that we are going to be making games for My Little Pony, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. For fans out there of these licenses who might not know, even myself, I'm not as familiar with like what the experience you are bringing to this is. Like, you've done big licenses in the past, right? Each of you has. Could you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So I mean, Dan actually was at my first professional gig at that company before I was even there, way back in the day, working on was Star Wars.
Yeah, so I've worked on Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Beyblade, Dot Hack, Mega Man, Austin Powers at that company, all sorts of awesome ones. Then I went to Upper Deck and worked on Marvel and DC Comics, World of Warcraft, and since I've been at Renegade, I've gotten the opportunity to work on Power Rangers and Vampire. So licenses are nothing new to me, and I've dealt with small licensors, big licensors, easy ones, difficult ones, challenging ones. I won't say which is which, but yeah, a lot of experience there.
All the ones Renegade has are fantastic, though. We all know
Of
that.
course.
Yes.
They're wonderful.
So that's
Wonderful.
easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
We only work with the best partners, for sure.
Yeah.
And Dan and I have worked on a lot of the same stuff. There's a few maybe outliers, like we were at the same company, but I don't know. Did you ever work on Thomas and Friends, Dan?
No, I didn't. Where was
See,
that?
I've got that one up on you. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even know
Uh-huh.
that. That's a new one.
Yeah.
Where
How
is
about
our Topham Hat
Hello
cosplay?
Kitty? Yeah,
No,
that's
I've
right.
not
Hello
worked on Hello
Kitty?
Kitty. No.
Okay, see, I
Wow,
got a
I'm
couple
learning
weird
things
ones
today
up on you.
too.
Some esoteric ones. The box.
I think you did some trading card
Uh,
ones that I didn't do as well, probably.
that's true. I did a bunch of trading card stuff, and then later on things like Walking Dead and Adventure Time, and
Yeah.
all WB superhero shows, and just all sorts of crazy stuff. It's lots of fun.
How about you, Sarah?
I am not as long-term experienced as either of these two. I've only been doing this for about 10 years now, as opposed to their like 5 million years that they've been doing licenses. But I've gotten to work on some of my personal favorite licenses, which has been really fun. I actually started in the industry owning a store, and then eventually worked for crypto because I just really love the World of Warcraft trading card game. And I was doing some pretty fun events in my local community with my store, and eventually Scott tricked me into moving to California, and I worked at Cryptozoic for a few years, and got to work on the World of Warcraft trading card game, which was just really a dream come true. It was so fun to work on something that you care so much about. And then, of course, we had tons of trading card properties. Adventure Time was a super fun one to work on as a game. Walking Dead was great. That was right when Walking Dead was super popular, and there were just so many fans that never would have found out about board games without the games that we made, which is by far my favorite part of working on licensed games. I've talked about that in a few other panels. I just love getting to see people experience this whole genre of things that I love so much for the very first time, because they just saw something that they were familiar with. They had a connection to the Walking Dead, they'd watched the TV show. So then they were willing to take that extra leap to come into our industry. So that's what I just absolutely love about licensing. And I'm really excited with all the stuff that we have going on with Vampire, with Hasbro, and EC Comics, and everything else that we've already worked on. They're just really great partnerships to have and great communities to bring into our industry.
Yeah. So I had something that popped up the other day. This shows you. I think Sarah was calling us old, Dan, but you know how you get like those. I know. Yeah. Those Facebook memories, right? A Facebook memory will pop up. So last week was BlizzCon 2007 anniversary. 13 years ago, where we were there at BlizzCon with World of Warcraft trading card game. It showed up on my Facebook page, and there was pictures of us and all of our friends from back in the day. So now I do feel old because Sarah brought that up and made that memory come back.
Was that the one where there was the loot card booth thing?
I don't know. It might have been. I think it was the year that one of the cosplayers had the big riding turtle, like life-size riding turtle, and she was on the riding turtle. It was powered like underneath, and she could ride it around the convention. Like that was amazing. Yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was a long time ago.
So
it's true.
we're not going to say, we're going to say with the vast experience in the company working with licenses, what's approach Renegade is going to be taking with these new licenses and translating them into games? Like, what can fans expect from the experience of playing a Renegade licensed game?
Well, so I'll say, like I've said this many times, and I'm very passionate about this, and I think we've all experienced this in the past. And what we've learned over the years, right, is that licensed games, first and foremost, have to be a great experience in that world, right? Nobody wants to play a World of Warcraft game that doesn't feel like World of Warcraft, or a Power Rangers game that doesn't feel like Power Rangers. So first and foremost, that's what these need to be. They have to be fun G.I. Joe immersive experiences, or Transformers, or Power Rangers, which I think we've done a great job with Heroes of the Grid. So first and foremost, that's what the games are about. So if your first question that you're typing in chat is, what are these games about? They're about G.I. Joe. They're about Transformers. We're not just going to take G.I. Joe or Transformers and put them on one of our existing games. We're going to create a game from the ground up that's the best experience possible, that feels like you're part of that world, that makes you feel like a Joe, that makes you feel like you're a Transformer, that immerses you in that world. There you go. We're done. End of the panel.
Well, we talked a little, like, in the RPG panel, Elisa was able to talk a little bit about the approach to the RPGs, to these licenses. Could you, Dan, could you talk to the experience of these games specifically? Like, if I'm a Transformers fan, like Sarah mentioned, people who may have never played a board game, what is a deck building game for them, and like what can they expect from that experience?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, to get back to the mechanics of what is a deck building game, I've seen, some of our Power Rangers fans asking this who might not be familiar with this type of game. This is not what it's not. First of all, is a game that you're going to buy booster packs and customize your deck outside of it, and it's collectible. This is a game that's a boxed game you buy that will give you everything you need in that one purchase to play the game. And then from there, the way the game works is that everyone will start with essentially the same deck. And then over the course of the game, you will purchase new cards to level up your deck, to upgrade your deck, to accomplish whatever goals are in that deck. And so by the end, everybody will have something totally different, a new experience as they're playing, and their deck just grows and gets more powerful as they go. So there's a nice game arc with deck building games. So you feel like you're progressing, you feel like you're growing, you feel like you're moving along a path, which is very great. So in terms of the games that we're doing, these Hasbro games, fans are getting a chance to play the Power Rangers one, for instance, this weekend. We got demos going as we speak at RenCon here. So that one is team versus team. It's kind of taking what we did with Heroes of the Grid, where you can only play as the Rangers. We wanted to switch that up a little bit so that you can now play as the villains, which is new and exciting. It's so you can play 1v1 or 2v1 or 2v2. There's some really neat mechanics that designer Matt Hyra has implemented in there with your cards attaching and then getting your signature equipment, and then attaching your Zords and then getting the Megazord and all the kind of things that you would expect, but they're done in a different way from Here's the Grid, and they're done in a very different way from most deck builders. There's some really neat mechanics that I haven't seen in deck builders before, which make it very exciting. And teams, I haven't done a lot of team deck building, and I think that's a neat thing that feels very thematic for the Rangers, for the Ranger universe, both playing as the Rangers or the villains. And I'm excited for the fans to really get a sense for trying it out this weekend. The other ones, the Joes and the My Little Ponies and the Transformers, we are not really up for explaining a whole lot of detail about those at this time, but please we will when we're able.
I think one thing what I'm really excited about is just how there's all these people who are familiar with Transformers, G.I. Joe, and so on. There's also a lot of people who are familiar with the mechanics. And so you lower the barrier to entry to everyone having this great experience because you already know so much about how it works. But then when you sit down and play it, you have this unique experience of all the extra special stuff that Matt Hyra is throwing into the game, but you don't have this big amount of work to understand how to actually just sit down and start playing. You just need those little tiny tweaks. How is this special from other deck builders I've played? Okay, now I understand. Now you get to the fun part really, really fast. So that's one thing that makes me really excited that we're doing deck builders with these games.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll be able to go, these are, I said they're not collectible, but we will be doing, multiple releases within these. It'll be a line of games. So the first one in each will be, kind of an overview of these things, but we will also be able to do, because of the format, deep cuts in there and fan favorites that you might not have seen in Heroes of the Grid or things like that we can go a little bit deeper into these, because there's more cards. Instead, in a Heroes of the Grid release, we do 5 or 6 minis, but in this we might cover a lot more characters than we would in that. So I'm excited to get some of those fan favorites in there and do deep cuts.
That is really exciting. I can't wait. I honestly am this is I know the community has been really excited about it, so it's going to be a good weekend if you can get into one of those demos for Power Rangers. Definitely recommend you do so. So, can you tell me a little bit about people? You mentioned Matt Hyra. We obviously have some people who are doing graphic design. Can you tell me some of the people who are behind bringing these worlds into game forms?
Sure, I'll pick that one up. So it's a pretty broad team. So of course we had one panel where Elisa Teague just joined us recently, and she's going to be heading up the role playing games specifically. And then Dan is heading up the box games, so he'll be producing those. And then beyond that, the team kind of branches out from there. We have Jeannie Torres, who you might be familiar with a lot of her graphic design work, who's been working on Heroes of the Grid. She's going to be our creative lead on all of the Hasbro deck building games as well. So G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony. She's going to be doing that and art directing those games and heading up graphic design. She'll probably cross over a little bit into the RPG world as well, just to make sure that we're sharing information and have consistent themes and looks and stay on brand. Matt Hyra, Dan Blanchett, most recently, TC Petty has been involved in doing some design and development on some of those games coming up. So the team then from there, and then we have pre-press and, things like sales and marketing. I guess you need that sort of stuff too. They get involved at some point. We have Anita Osborne. That's so unimportant. Anita Osborne has been involved right from the beginning up until recently. Jeannie's kind of picking up the ball and running with it on the art direction side. She's been handling all the art for Heroes of the Grid, and you'll see a lot of her influence on the first couple releases of the Power Rangers deck builder. Alicia Cummins handles all our logistics, scheduling. She cracks the whip, make sure that we're all staying, on time. But she's also just a monster for quality control. So she's the liaison that's working directly with factories, making sure that our quality is as high as it can be, really just pushing them to the limit. It's a big team. It's a very diverse team. Everybody pitches in. There's no one person here that really could do it all by themselves. So I hope I didn't forget anybody.
We should also just kind of mention Matt Hyra. I know you mentioned him, but just to reiterate his chops here. He's the one responsible for the DC deck building game and all of those expansions that they did there, and all the line extensions of that Cerberus engine from Attack on Titan, all those other deck building games. He also did the Vampire Rivals game that we're launching here in January, and many other games. So he's got he's heading up the design for all that stuff, and he's got a great mind for new and different engines and a lot of experience doing it. So he's been there and done that, and is now going to continue to be there and do that.
Yeah, Matt's a superstar. I think I was trying to talk about his vast experience and skills, and I think I inadvertently called him old in another panel. But
Oh, so it's come full circle.
He's in good company, right, Scott? We're old.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think Sarah started it, so it's fine.
It's always my fault.
That's right.
So this is a fun question. And this is a question. Feel free, if you're in chat right now, to throw in your response to which character from G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, from our new franchises are you most excited to see in potentially a future Renegade Game Studios deck building game?
I know my answer.
Well, one thing I'm excited about is, I honestly, to be totally fair, don't know a ton about G.I. Joe yet, but I've been learning about it as we got licenses, and I'm getting more and more excited about it. I started reading the comics, the really old ones from the 80s, and just really falling in love with the characters. And I think it's really important to remember that Hasbro has spent so much time, like from very, very long, like the very beginning of G.I. building it as a story and then also as the action figures and the other fun stuff that they came out with. And they knew from the beginning that it was important to not just make a product and throw it on a shelf. That's not what they've done. And so it's fun because we can dive into all these different characters and learn about them and fall in love with them. And G.I. Joe just has so many. I was really like just overwhelmed how many characters there are, from Scarlet and just a million other ones. So I'm not excited about one in particular. I'm excited that we have so many that we can play with. So, and that I get to learn about all of them.
I'm sorry, did you say Rainbow Dash there, Sarah? Did I mishear you?
Okay. I will admit that I am in the middle of painting a Rainbow Dash figure from WizKids because I really like Rainbow Dash too. So that's fair.
I will say for me, I will take it back to my favorite G.I. Joe toy from when I was a kid in 1984. So that is going to date me. But it was it was called the Shark, and it was the submarine / jet. So it could fly, and then it could go underwater, and it could do both. It was awesome. And the interesting thing, it came with a figure, like most of these vehicles. It came with a Joe, and his name was Deep Six, and he was very inarticulate. Yeah. He was just kind of a bubble in a deep space diver suit, and he only had 2 points of articulation like this, which was really pretty lame. But the cool thing was he came with a pump, like a tube that attached to his back, and you could put him underwater and suck out the air, and he would sink. And then you'd reverse it and put the air back in, and he'd float. So that was a cool toy, and I really loved playing with that. And so I want to see how we incorporate that into the game. That's my answer.
So you need a Deep Six in
a Deep Six and Shark, yes.
Okay.
Like a special promo just for Dan that is laminated, so he can take it into the bathtub
with him. Put it underwater. I want to dunk it.
Awesome.
Waterproof cards.
So for me, waterproof cards. Oh, don't start. So for me, I would say, so for Transformers, I just want to play anything Optimus Prime because I want to try to talk like Optimus Prime, which I totally can't do, but in my head I can. So I want to be able to play cards and be like, roll out, but I can't talk like Optimus Prime, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But for G.I. Joe, the character that I'm most looking forward to has got to be Snake Eyes. So I can remember when I was a kid getting the first issue of the G.I. Joe Marvel comics. Another kid in my neighborhood showed it to me, and I immediately, when I got that, I ran down to there was a drugstore that we used to buy comics at, and I ran down there and I got it. But the one issue that totally blew my mind is there's an issue of Marvel comics from the 80s that has no words in it because it's right. Remember, Snake Eyes didn't talk. And it's just a Snake Eyes solo adventure, and there's no word balloons in the whole thing. And I don't remember how old I was, 9 years old, 10 years old when I read that. Totally blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind reading this. And it was like Snake Eyes was the coolest character ever. I used to draw the tattoo that he has on his arm. I used to draw that on my notebooks in school and everything else. So let me tell you, fans, Snake Eyes, his cards in this game will be good. They will be awesome. It's Snake Eyes. We cannot make his cards not be awesome. They have to be just incredible. That's the one thing I get to do. I get to impose my personal will on things. Snake Eyes will have good cards. So there you go. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, is playing Snake Eyes in that Death Builder.
Man, I want to see that comic. I've not seen that. That sounds awesome.
It is. It's awesome. It's really expensive on the secondary market now too. It's crazy to get one, but you can get it in the books. Get the graphic novels. Read through the reprints. It's great. Cool. I think it's number 21. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think it's something like that. There you go.
How do you remember these things?
I don't know.
Impressive.
It's like my whole life is just remembering useless pop culture facts. So it's all good.
Well, we can use that knowledge of comics, Scott, as we talk about the next thing we have. This week, we actually just released the first wave of the Renegade puzzles, and we also announced that we have a new partnership with EC Comics to make more
Yeah.
puzzles. Can you talk to us about this partnership and what we're doing special for the fans of these comics?
Sure. So, those of you that are not familiar with EC Comics was a line of comics, most popular horror comics in the 50s. And they were famous for in the 50s for really just kind of going over the top. They pushed the envelope of what was acceptable at that time in the 50s, and it actually caused a huge uproar in the 50s and led to was one of the major contributing factors that led to the Comics Code Authority, that little comic code seal that you would have on your comics. And those comics are just, they're absolute classics. You will see they've had such an influence on modern day pop culture. People like Neil Gaiman and Bernie Wrightson and just, all these kind of modern masters of horror and the supernatural certainly were influenced in some way, shape, or form by EC Comics in the 50s. And they're just phenomenal. And to top it off, just some of the just most well-known classic artists worked on those comics as well. People like Frank Frazetta and Wally Wood, did covers. And we are going to be making puzzles on Weird Science and Weird Science Fantasy. So two of my most favorite lines. And they're just phenomenal. So we're starting off with that. We announced this last week or this week, one of these weeks. And the cool thing is, if you're a fan, you can go in and help us pick which covers we're going to tackle first. And you can vote for your favorite cover from that line and tell us what you want. And we're going to make one of those into a puzzle, and we're going to do others as well. But one will be fans' choice. So guaranteed the fans will get at least one that they've picked. So there you go. ECs are phenomenal. If you don't know EC Comics, everybody knows Tales from the Crypt. It was a show on HBO for years. Check them out. Break out the Google. If you're a horror fan, they're a treat.
Nice.
Fantastic. So, I've already seen questions coming in from the chat. So we're going to be hitting that very shortly. We've got just a couple other news bits to talk about. I did promise our wonderful Power Ranger fans that we would talk about Heroes of the Grid just a little bit. We do have a pre-order campaign starting next week for new expansions, and we haven't revealed our little special, pre-order bonus yet. But Dan's gonna give us a little bit of a peek at what we're sharing. So,
Sure. So what we're giving away as the pre-order bonus this time is called the Fan Appreciation Kit. And a little bit of history. This started as the idea was we wanted to give the fans the scenario book. So we've been doing these monthly scenarios. Jonathan Ying does a great job of developing and testing and putting these together. And we release them as free content every month. And fans can print them out and try them and play them and whatnot. And that's great. But we wanted to collect them in an easy way so that fans could have a tangible book that had them with some extra artwork and some other things in there. But just a nice collection of those scenarios. So that's the foundation of this is a scenario book that collects 13 scenarios, the first 13, scenario 0 through scenario 12. So essentially the first year of scenarios are all in there. And we're excited to get those to you guys in that nice format. So you have a nice book that you can use to play through those. But from there, we said that's cool, but let's take it to the next level and do some more for these fans. So there are also tokens. There's a punchboard sheet in there that has a bunch of tokens with neat things. So it's got life counters or player life tokens. So most players will use what we say in the rule book is to put energy counters in the HQ. When you're playing, we've got some specific life counters that are in there in the kit for you to use for that are specific, different than energies. Nothing required, but just a nice to have, something different to show your life. Also, we have several different tokens that were from the scenarios. So Zeo Crystal tokens, patch tokens from the Halloween scenario, gift tokens from the Christmas episode. And in the scenarios originally, it says grab a penny or grab a bean or whatever you want to use for these tokens. But we thought it would be a great touch to give fans actual tokens for those that they can use when playing those scenarios. So that's what we have here. are enough tokens for each of those for you to play those scenarios using appropriate tokens. Also, Megazord tokens. Again, we have the Dino Megazord token that comes in the core set, which is great and functional, but Jonathan Ying said, let's give these guys some tokens that are relevant to the Megazord cards that are being played. So since then, we've come up with a lot of different Megazords. So we have 8 different Megazord tokens that are included that are for all the other Megazords that are included that are in the game. So you can use the appropriate token. Also, more dividers. So this is kind of a quality of life thing. In the last pre-order campaign, we did the storage box, which you can see right there. Storage box, which you should be in your hands soon if you backed that campaign. And in that box are included enough dividers and sticker sheets for all of the content through the end of 2020. But since we have more content coming out and it keeps coming, I wanted to be sure that you had enough of those dividers and stickers to cover into the future. So what I've put in there is some more dividers, more stickers that will cover you through for every piece of content through the end of 2021. So, and then there's even some extras there. So that's just kind of a quality of life thing for you guys to have in case you need extra. And then finally, the last bit of components in there are 2 cards. These are a Zord card and a Megazord card that are not found anywhere else. This is Titanus and the Ultra Zord. And I don't know if on the graphic you can see it, but you might have to wait for more details on specifically how the gameplay works on those. I won't spoil that for you unless you can pause it and zoom in on the text like you guys.
They're gonna screen cap it and analyze it and send it off to the FBI.
They take the potato cam. Yeah. It's a dedicated community. They do their best with the terrible pixelated photos I throw in there. So you bet there's some real sleuths in there.
That's the fan appreciation kit. We hope you guys enjoy it and find something in there that's useful and enjoyable for you. We hope you get to play those scenarios. We put a lot of work into them, and we think they're great ways for you to extend your love and play of the games. And so that's fan appreciation kit, free with your pre-order of certain bundles.
Go ahead, Sarah.
That's what I was going to say. So yeah, if you are excited about that fan appreciation kit that Dan puts thought and effort into making sure you guys have everything that you could possibly want in there, that is going to be available for that pre-order campaign that starts on Tuesday. And you will get that if you order any of those big bundles. So we have one bundle that has all of those new figures we talked about already. We spoiled them, the Forever Rangers pack, Squat and Babu, and then Villain Pack 3. So you would get the fan appreciation kit if you order that bundle. And then also we do have the painted Megazord coming out. So we made another bundle with him as well. And you would get the fan appreciation kit with that too. Also, if you've never played Power Rangers before, but you've been watching this weekend and it sounds exciting and you want to jump in, we also made a welcome to the party bundle, and you'll get the fan appreciation kit in that bundle as well, along with all the things that you would really need to just get started and jump into it. So we have lots of stuff coming Tuesday.
Scott?
Tuesday.
Hey, Scott, would you say that
Yeah?
was almost too much value?
Almost too much value. I mean, almost. Not quite, but almost.
Oh, Bad Reflex Gaming. So thanks for listening to the fans for so long. We are, Scott can speak to this more. We really appreciate our Power Rangers community. Every community that is part of our Renegade family. So yeah, we hear you. We do. But logistics can take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
That's what I've
learned.
And
I would say too. I mean, the Power Rangers community has been so amazing to work with, and then Hasbro, the team behind Power Rangers at Hasbro as well. Really, that experience was so good on both ends between the fans and working with Hasbro. That's really what led us to want to expand the relationship with Hasbro. I mean, we all love G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony, but because the experience was so good, that it was just a no-brainer. So G.I. Joe fans, Transformers fans, My Little Pony fans, if you're excited about what's coming up from us, thank the Power Rangers folks that came before you. they really helped get the ball rolling and made all this possible. So thanks, Power Rangers fans. We get cool Snake Eyes cards because of you.
No joke. Yeah, that's really what happened. It's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. And we have one more thing. I'm going to just take this little thing. It's related to a game we released a little bit earlier this year. This is Kids on Brooms. It's an RPG that I am so in love with. It is, I have a whole school. My daughter wears, I sewed her robes to be a student wizard. It's a whole thing. This is what ends up happening in my life. But Sarah, can you talk to us about our new tabletop game, not role-playing game, associated with Kids on Brooms?
I will tell you a little bit, and then I'm going to throw it over to Dan so he can jump into the case. So, yeah, Kids on Brooms was just very successful. The moment it hit shelves, we sold out of it. People have been really excited because Kids on Bikes has been going really well for a long time, and Kids on Brooms uses that same core system developed by Doug Lewandowski and John Gilmore, and just expands on that and adds a whole new fun setting. And so we thought it would be exciting when proposed this card game based in that world that's also compatible with the RPG. We thought that was just a great fit, and we love working on the Kids on Bikes stuff in general. So Dan, do you want to give us some details about what this game actually is going to look like? And I assume we're showing off the fantastic cover that our team has been working on as well.
Sure. Yes. This is Duel of Wands. This is designed by Doug Lewandowski and Luke Munch. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, but Doug was one of the designers of the RPG, so he is intimately familiar with the world building, and so they both came to us with this design. It's an interesting game. So it's a small card game where both players are essentially resolving in a school of magic. You're resolving a dispute via a very calculated and regimented way within the school, instead of just like having a brawl. This is an actual thing. Like if you have a dispute, you can take it to the council, and then you can do a duel of wands. And so in these duels, both players will start. It's a 2-player only card game. Both players start with a small deck, I think 11 or 12 cards, and your goal is to sling cards back and forth, casting spells with some great art by Heather Vaughn. And your goal is to try to knock out your opponent's psyche. That's one specific card that's called your psyche. And so it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game where you're playing spells to reveal cards from their hand to see if they have it or not, trying to bounce it out of their hands, and back and forth. There's a nice back and forth with this to really try to get that psyche out of their hand. And the interesting thing is that between games, so it's a quick game, about 20 minutes, and then it's a best 2 out of 3. So if you lose, you get to then upgrade your deck. So the person who loses the first game gets to go in, and there are upgrade cards for pretty much all the cards in the game. So I can say, I'm going to upgrade this card and this card, and it's going to be different every time. And even with some of the cards, there's multiple versions of the upgrade. So you can say this one or that one. So you get to upgrade your deck if you lose. So then you go back at it again and try to fight again. This time you've got a little bit of an advantage and a little bit more knowledge of your opponent. So it's kind of a best 2 out of 3. And if the other player loses, then they can upgrade their deck, and then you finish it off. So it's a really fun back and forth tactical game for 2 players. And as far as the role-playing game, it can be used and integrated into your sessions, your role-playing sessions, as a way to settle disputes. There's rules for how to do that, and some suggestions for how to do that in the rulebook of the Duel of Wands game. But essentially, it's a way to settle disputes while still remaining in character, and you can cast the spells and do all that while you're playing this fun game to settle disputes and really it really adds to your role-playing experience. So I would highly suggest it for anyone who's really digging on Kids on Brooms and has sessions going. I think this will be a nice addition for that.
Just in time to reveal for Halloween, you have the nice pictures up on social media too. So I'm excited about that. So we're at the point where we're taking questions now from you. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it into chat. Booyah Man had asked, are all the board games coming up from Renegade or tabletop games coming up from Renegade going to be deck builders? When it comes to our expanded G.I. Joe, Transformers, My Little Pony.
All the ones that we've announced so far will be deck builders.
Scott likes to say that's what I was waiting for. It doesn't mean we won't.
I mean, yeah, we might do other stuff in the future, but today it's all about deck builders, man. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I mean, you've been really good. I've been checking on your panels during the con to make sure that if we don't have to make faces about certain things. But before, a little bit earlier, someone asked a question because they did point out not too long ago in the Power Rangers group, you said something about puzzles.
No, we haven't announced anything about puzzles yet. Not for that sort of stuff. We've talked about role-playing games, that's for sure.
You asked about so Joseph Jones said, since you asked Power Rangers fans about puzzles, does that mean Ranger puzzles are on their way?
No, just means I was asking.
No, just means you're asking. Okay. I like to ask a lot of questions. He likes to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, I just like to, I'm just exploring.
Well, this is one from Root Wallapunk. Will the Hasbro games be compatible with one another? And I think on the RPG side, they touched the new Hasbro games that are licensed games with Hasbro.
Yep. So like we mentioned in the RPG panel, they're all using 5e as the base for those games. So of course, when everything is based in 5e, there's a certain level of them working together, and that's certainly our plan there. For the deck building games, we're undecided to what extent they will be compatible. The mandate, again, is to make a really great G.I. Joe game or a really great Transformers game or Power Rangers game. We don't want to force something into the wrong experience. So I would probably say that we won't wind up making them compatible in the sense that they would be interchangeable, but that doesn't mean that we're limited down the road to doing things that allow us to do some crossover stuff, as long as we're able to get that approved and move in that direction. But first and foremost, they need to be a good experience for each specific world.
Perfect. So if you have other questions, throw them in chat. We're going to take just a few more. Let's see here. Do you have an anticipated date for the delivery date for the upcoming pre-order campaign that is launching on Tuesday?
Oh, for the one that's actually launching on Tuesday. That's going to be April, May-ish.
So not long. It's you don't have to wait long to see all the fun stuff. We're going to be doing reveals throughout the campaign over on our new Power Rangers site, powerrangersgaming.com. So you can check that out. You can back there, pre-order through there. So that's going to be really exciting. Let's see here. David Leavitt. Dan, this might be a question you can speak to. Are the cards themselves in our deck builders high enough quality to not need card sleeves for casual players? And I know that for me, I play a lot of games and I found our cards pretty solid.
Well, I mean that's an individual question. Like some people sleeve everything no matter the card quality. So I can't speak to that, but your need to sleeve. But what I can speak to is the quality of our cards. We use the highest quality card stock that I'm aware of. We use the same card stock that the number one trading card game in the world uses, and I don't anticipate there being any quality issues from that standpoint. Whether or not you need to sleeve them, that's on your personal preferences.
All right, so. This is a good question for people who want to support the friendly local game stores. On the Power Ranger pre-order, is there a way for my local game store to order the items so I can support the store and get the bonuses?
Yeah, absolutely. So every time we do one of these campaigns, we actually have an offer retail. We have quite a few that take advantage of that every time. We make sure that they're going to be able to make some money and run their business and do everything they need to do, and also support the Power Rangers community in their own store. So if you want to support your local store, we highly encourage you to let them know about the campaign, send them a link. And if they have any questions, there will be a contact us button on that page as well. And so if they need to know any specifics about being a retail backer, personally make sure I get them that info. So thank you for asking that, because we love supporting stores.
Perfect. All right. This is an interesting question from Amanda McKnight, who we adore, but whoa, she's gonna ask, can we play My Little Pony versus Power Rangers? But I'm gonna preface this. I'm gonna say I don't think that in any universe the Power Rangers would ever fight My Little Pony. They'd be friends. They'd be friends.
Probably.
Friends.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be a versus. That would not be a versus situation. No.
I don't think so. No.
All right.
That's a silly question, Amanda.
James is asking, is there any World of Darkness news you can talk about? Well, I'm going to preempt this question a little bit. We have a Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game panel tomorrow. And I have Sarah's blessing to pull a little bit of a Scott and show those of you who are really excited about this. But I got permission, Scott, so...
How come Terry gets to say things that she's not supposed to say, but I don't get to say things that I'm not supposed to say?
Because I like Terry better than you.
That's true. I will say, Terry, doing it with permission is not as much fun. But go ahead.
She's got you on that one. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, Scott. I'm a consummate fangirl. So if you want news about what we're doing with Vampire the Masquerade Rivals and World of Darkness, go over. Make sure you check out our panel tomorrow. I believe it is happening at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So definitely tune in. It will be on YouTube. I believe there's actually like a remind me link. If you head over to the Renegade schedule, you'll just get transported to a YouTube page and the little remind me button, and it'll get notified. So let's have a look here. And is there anything else here? Doesn't look like there are any other questions. Amanda did ask, this is a great question, who did the art for Duel of Wands?
That was Heather Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did great.
Heather,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the cover's great, and the illustrations on the cards are all like really neat, like hand effects of spell effects with all sorts of cool elaborations there. And Anita Osborne on the unique cards. There's unique cards that have like casters in various poses, but all of them like break frame in some way, and they all look really neat, and they're all very unique looking. So I think the art and the graphic design together on this really are great.
Yeah.
She's so now, like, Heather has done role-playing games art for us. She's done puzzle art for us now, as of this week, and she's going to be doing a board game. This is really, her art is so beautiful in texture too, so it's really exciting. For the Power Rangers deck builder, will we be seeing new art from the upcoming decks?
Yeah, we always do new art for all our SKUs, and you'll see some art that's from the catalog of Power Rangers art, and then you'll see some art that's brand new. Pretty much every set, we're constantly doing new pieces of art.
Perfect. And I think we'll take a look. I know that with the demos right now, that's a good way to see some of the cards that are in the game. So if you want to get a demo, we are doing demos until 8 p.m. Pacific tonight. So go ahead and get those demos in. Oh, James is asking Scott, is there anything else you would like to spoil? And I'm making the face.
Spoil? We've told you so much fantastic stuff. I shared my childhood G.I. Joe story. I mean, come on, what more?
That's a deep cut.
Wait, I have a tease. Hold on, I have a tease. I have something we can give people.
Oh no! I made the face though.
I know. That's why I'm going to do it, because I like going against authority. So right. So we mentioned Heather Vaughn, and we're going to have to end this right after this because I don't want to get the stink eye from Sarah anymore. So Heather Vaughn, like you mentioned, has done role-playing game art, and she did the art for Duel of Wands, and her art is featured on one of the puzzles that just released. And maybe in the near future, you will see art from her on a board game from Renegade. That's all I'm going to say. Because that was the one category you never mentioned. So I think that we need to check that box and take care of that. So stay tuned.
Approved. You can. That's okay.
All right. Okay. Oh, you're not mad? Yeah. No, you're supposed to be very upset.
I know how to push your button.
Yeah. I'll try harder next time.
That seems like a lot of good stuff. We talked about Duel of Wands. We showed off the fan appreciation kit. We talked about some deeper cuts for all the Hasbro stuff we're working on.
Yep.
You gave her about
EC Comics.
EC Comics we touched on. So yeah, pretty good stuff. And seriously though, please watch the Vampire the Masquerade Rivals Expendable Card Game panel tomorrow, because we do have some good spoilers in that one for sure.
There you go.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it because again, we'll let this nice, quiet, even it out. There's a finishing question, just to wrap everything up. If you could have one G.I. Joe ability, what would it be? And apparently Scott can't choose Snake Eyes.
Oh yeah, I can. I can be a ninja. I would be a ninja. Thank you. Done. That was easy.
I'll go back to my second favorite toy. I told you my first favorite toy was the shark with the Deep Six. My second favorite Joe toy was it Zartan? Is that his name? The guy who changes color and he had like a mask you could put on, and then you put him outside and his skin changed color. I tried burying him in the dirt and then coming back to him later and see what happened. Nothing really happened, but that would be a cool ability.
I did that with my sister's Barbies too, but it wasn't because I wanted to see what would happen. Oh no. I will get back to you on that one. I need to do some research. So next time I'll have an answer.
Well, knowing is half the battle. So Sarah, we'll come back to you once we've gotten to that part of the fight. So thank you all so very much for joining us for this panel. We have plenty of other stuff happening at Renegade Con. If you are just wondering what's happening, there's a constantly updating scroll schedule on the website renegadegames.com. You can check out all of Renegade Con. You can see the schedule. You can shop the booth. It doesn't close, which is nice. So you can check out what's going on there, and there's free shipping all weekend long. Do check out the demos, and have a fantastic rest of your day. We've got more coming up right here on our streams. So have a good one, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks.